and officers and viewers on the Council's website to this licensing committee meeting. We will go through, all have the agenda, all read it? Thank you. Bit of housekeeping, of course. Fire alarm straight out the door. Can we please make sure all mobiles are switched to silent or off, so we don't want to be interrupted. Good evening. Right, we will go through the items. Apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Ramage, Councillor Swear, Councillor Walters, Councillor Van Dolkin and Councillor Taylor. That's Wendy Taylor, and Councillor Staines is substituting for Councillor Taylor. No other apologies?
Yeah, Councillor Ayton is running late.
He's running late. Okay, thank you. I see we've all read the agenda. Any interests, declarations of interest on any of these items? No. Minutes of the previous meeting, which was passed around to everybody. Has everybody read them? Okay.
So, Chairman, could you formally call for a mover and a seconder?
Member, Councillor Wright, and a seconder, please. Councillor Mason, please. All those in favour of them? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Number 4, public question time. We have no members of the public here. Questions? So we will go on to item 5, which is the Licensing Act, which is before you. I hope you've all read it, digested it, taken it all in. It's a report. We have just got to approve it, haven't we?
Yes, Chairman. So would you like to invite John Meddings as the report author to outline the... Sorry, Dan Molina.
Dan Molina, yeah.
To outline the report for members. Thank you.
I'll pass to you, Mr. Molini. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it says on the presented by Mr. Meddings, but I will be presenting it this evening. Members who have been on the committee for some time, they'll know that we go through a cyclical process of reviewing our Licensing Act 2003 Statement of Licensing Policy. The process starts now, and the review's got to be completed by, in effect, this time next year. So we have roughly a year to go through this process. So the purpose of this report is to consider the 6th revision, the first being in 2005, of the Braintree District Council Licensing Act 2003, Statement of Licensing Policy, and to request to members that we start the 12-week public and key stakeholder consultation. So we're asking that we recommend that the latest version, which is in draft, with amendments, is approved for consultation. Under the Licensing Act 2003, Section 5, each licensing authority is required to prepare and publish a statement of policy at least every 5 years. The policy must be published before the authority carries out any function in respect of individual applications and notices made under the terms of the 2003 Act. In effect, in order to conduct the business and act as a licensing authority with respect to the Licensing Act, we need to have a policy to explain to people how we conduct ourselves. We have a policy in place, so this is a case of we are doing this on a very early basis. We need to keep it under review. We need to make any revisions. We need to make any changes, so we need to be aware of what has changed to maybe statutory guidance or even potentially a local situation, because things do change. We've noticed that premises now can be potentially very different to what they were maybe even 5, 10, 15 years ago, or especially when the Act came out. Guidance advises us to, when we write revisions, refer to Section 182 of the Act and the guidance that's issued by the Home Office or Secretary of State regarding to the Act, and we should be making sure that any amendments to the policy are appropriate. So the key thing here is we're not intending to introduce any new initiatives or special policies, which we can do. We're not intending to at this time. So it's in effect a review of existing policy and making changes. And in table 3.8, I've made a helpful table to, in effect, change what to advise what those changes look like, so you can see those. I won't go through each one, but if anyone has any questions regarding those particular changes, then please let me know. We have made changes to the appendices, and you can see here we've updated the district profile to a point, key contact lists. We've introduced a glossary of terms for assisted reader, applicants and licence holders, introduction of guidance on the application process, and an introduction of pool of conditions. So referring to paragraph 4, we will go out to a 12-week public and key stakeholder consultation. This is how we will do it in paragraph 4.2. So I hope you will be pleased that we are trying to reach out to as many stakeholders as possible, to the trade, to other stakeholders that might have an interest in this policy. There'll be a public consultation as well, and once we've received any responses, the next stage will be to bring those responses back to the committee, so the committee can look at those responses, and then we will draft the latest version of the policy for approval to full council in the autumn/winter this year. So the options are the committee agree to start the consultation process, or disagree to start the consultation process and propose further amendment to the latest revision of the policy. And Chairman, I refer this back to you for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any questions on this item?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask about the addition, which I think is excellent, of the Ask for Angela? Who oversees the training for that, and how is it monitored? Because I have read recently that of people going in, especially women going into pub, and nobody knowing what that meant. So I just wanted to check out how that's overseen.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. It's a very good question. Ask for Angela has been a scheme now. It's been in place for quite some time, and it's a national scheme, so it's quite well known now. And I'm aware of the mystery shopping that was done not so long ago, and I think it was done in a quite a big city. I think it was done in London, and there was some non-compliance. We have introduced Ask for Angela scheme to our what we call the 3 pub watches in the district, Braintree, Witham and Housestead, and it's a purely voluntary scheme. And the police and the district council have suggested that pubs have taken it on, and we've had a good take up. So much so that we have done some mystery shopping ourselves, and I believe that mystery shopping was around about October time, and we went into all of the pubs, pretty much all of the pubs in the Housestead town, and the take-up was almost complete. I think we had one premises that had a lack of understanding, and the landlord was very upset because he knew all about it, but I think he had a new person behind the bar, and I think it became ingrained fairly quickly. So it is becoming more and more ingrained. I wouldn't say it's 100% universal. The council don't have a responsibility to train, but we will train people, you know, if we're asked, and we do talk about it at the pub watches. And actually, the training is quite straightforward. The key thing is to keep telling new people, new staff members that come, so they're aware of it. Has that been helpful?
Very helpful, thank you.
Sorry, Chairman, can I just clarify as well? The policy, paragraph 11.3, which the Ask Angela scheme is noted as adoption of best practice, that is as the preceding paragraph explains, this is not all measures. These are included in the policy as a suggestion to those applicants to consider when they are developing their operating schedules, to make sure that they've got the appropriate steps in place when for their licence applications to deal with the 4 licensing objectives. So it's not a mandatory requirement. The reference is adoption of best practice guidance and schemes such as, so obviously if this scheme gets replaced by another or it's discontinued for whatever reason, the council's policy would still be you need to consider good practice procedures to protect customers who may feel vulnerable in your premises, not necessarily caused by the licensable activities but others in the premises. It can, as Danny's referred to, and those members who sit on licensing hearings regularly with me, we refer you to the Section 1.8 guidance and we refer you to the Council's own statement of policy. So that is in there in the context of saying to all those who are thinking about being licensed by the council or those who are licensed, that these are the measures we expect you to consider having regard to the nature of your premises and how you intend to operate. So it's there, as Danny says, as everybody who applies should be reading the council's policy to understand how it will approach dealing with licences and licensing applications.
Thank you, Emma. Any other questions? Councillor Pell.
Mr Chairman, I'd like to move that the Licensing Committee agree to start the consultation process with respect to the latest revision of the Licensing Act 2003 Statement of Licensing Policy.
I was going to ask a question on that.
Once it's been moved, you're required to seek a seconder, and
Okay.
then we can have that conversation, because then you know what is then on the table for the members to vote
Okay.
on.
Seconder, Councillor Wright. Thank you. Now I can ask the question. When will we be starting this consultation? Is there a start date?
We haven't set a start date, but I think it will probably be around about, I think it was in paragraph 4, it talked about quite an extensive consultation. That will take us some time to organise, and we'll around about April. Okay. Put about April to July time. So it's 12 weeks.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, Chairman.
I will do. And I have already spoke to these 2 gentlemen about it, and I think we should all know this policy runs for 5 years.
Yes.
From January 26.
Yes.
How will that affect devolution if it comes on?
Chairman, do you want me to, Danny, do you want me to take this?
I'm happy to answer it, but I think you'd like to answer it.
So, as members are aware, we do have proposals for local government review and devolution, and at present the licensing legislation is a matter for the district council. So whatever structure that we have of local government, it would be anticipated that this piece of legislation will be rolled over to the next authority. Now, with a lot of licensing, with all policies, not just unique to the Licensing Act, but where there's a number of policies across all range of the council services, we still do not know the detail of that. There will be a piece of work that is ongoing, that will be commencing whilst the whole concept of local government is properly panned out, what that means, and then we will have processes that will be put in place. It is possible for a period of time we will have a legacy policy where areas may operate under legacy policy, or we may have a provision that says that actually prior to a certain date the new authority must establish a new policy. There will be a transition period, but until we get the details of what local government is actually going to look like and we've got the statutory framework, we can't say for certainty. But until the new organisation is up and running, our policies run up to that date. So there will be a transition period, and that will go across all the local government decisions and decision making. I think why they understand the implications of all the services for the new authority. At the moment, we're talking high level, but when there's lots of things in the world of licensing, as Danny and John will tell you, you know, it's a very, very complex area, and we have got a period of time where we will have to wait to see what our legislation will be amended to and what the enabling legislation does. And once we know what the picture is, we will then start forming the work in the background. But until the new authorities are in place, we have to have a policy. As Danny's pointed out, we have a legal obligation to have a policy in place. There's no grandfather right on the policy. It runs for a fixed period of time. So this is why Danny and his team are commencing this work early, because this is going to be a very busy year for the team, and we need to make sure that we hit the full council for adoption before January to ensure that we've got a policy in place to make sure that licensing hearings and officers can take decisions in respect of licensing applications that come before the authority.
Thank you very much. And we just take a vote now on passing it?
Chairman, if members have asked all the questions they wish to ask
Any
on
more
this item,
questions?
then Chairman, then it's the case to move to the vote, please.
Can we move to the vote then, please? All in favour?
It's unanimous, Chairman.
Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much, members. We move on to the next item.
Okay, it's me.
Again, that's Licensing Committee update, which is on page 70 to 77. And Dan Malini will update us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This is just a standing item at most committees, if not all, and it's just a general update that's been requested historically, and this is something that officers are keen to inform members of what is happening in the licensing world, and not only regarding applications that we may have received. I won't go through this, but it's been a relatively busy time since the last meeting in 12th September. The chairman's had to use his delegations to suspend a driver's licence on one occasion. The committee have determined an application for a premises licence in December 2024, and the drivers panel have considered 16 matters since the last committee in September. And if you look at 3.4 through to 3.8, kind of gives you a brief outline of what there was. You'll notice it's very, very vague and anonymous, and we don't talk about specifics in this forum. With respect to paragraph 4 and proactive action, we are a busy team, and we do like to work in partnership with colleagues as far as we can. And you'll see there that we've conducted a number of evenings or nights of action where we have highlighted issues. It's important as a licensing authority that we are being proactive, and we are making sure that, for instance, our vehicle fleet is safe and our pubs are, conforming to their conditions of their licence, for instance. We've had issues where we've actually had to suspend a vehicle on one occasion at least. We've had issues where we've found tyres on vehicles which could be borderline, and we've given advice, to get replacements made. And we found that the partnership working that we're currently conducting with, and have been conducting with Essex Police since around about sort of 2020, 2021, to be very, very useful for both parties. And it's a partnership that I hope we can continue. We undertake nights of action on a monthly basis. We've already agreed what we're going to be doing this year. So it's something that we are proud of in this authority. It's taking us a long time to get to this stage where we are working on a very regular basis, but it does certainly help us as a licensing team to get support whenever we need it from our colleagues. We work with other councils. It's not just Essex Police. For instance, in 4.5, we took part in Operation Henderson, which is a multi-agency approach to child sexual exploitation, where we were talking to taxi drivers at the train stations regarding county lines exploitation of children, which was a very good afternoon. Yeah, it's been very, very worthwhile, and you can see there's quite a lot of work here. Moving on, there's some information generally on a more national basis now, not locally. So this is just information which you might find useful regarding statistics on gambling participation, gambling age verification, tightening verification in premises, alcohol and late night refreshment licensing, England Wales statistics. So if you're interested in knowing what's going on locally and nationally, there are statistics you can access, which we all, as each local authority feeds into these statistics pool. They're called single line data, which we have to provide information to the government, and then they publish them nationally. And then, for instance, there's a link in here, and you can have a look at that. You may be aware of the government's intention to introduce legislation. I can't tell you if it's going to happen or not, but there's certainly a bill in paragraph 8 regarding tobacco and vapes bill, and a new licensing regime for tobacco products. And it goes in quite a lot of detail regarding what the intentions are, bearing in mind it needs to go through the parliamentary processes. So what is in here now may not actually be at the end, if anything at all. And we can't say whether this legislation or this proposal, this bill, will actually receive royal assent, but it's the intention that it will. So in effect, what it means to us is that there could be a licensing regime which the council would need to administer regarding the sale of tobacco and vapes in premises, which would be new for everybody. We would in effect act as the licensing authority for those products, and there would be some ancillary enforcement powers in terms of being able to refuse or suspend or revoke a licence. However, from an enforcement perspective, they're looking to pass those powers to our colleagues at the upper tier level, which would be Essex County Council, so they would be able to undertake age verification exercises and take action against the licence or proprietor. For the first time, though, what they're suggesting, though, potentially, if this actually happens, is where we have an annual fee for instance, a licensed premises, they're potentially saying that some of that fee could be passed on to the enforcement side. So some of the fee that we collect as a local authority could be passed on to trading standards to do more work in that kind of arena. But again, it's very early stages, and we will try and keep you updated with the passage through Parliament if it should succeed. And that's, as I say, in 8.4, it's not clear regarding exactly what our role will be and whether it will go through. But yeah, it's quite an interesting times. So it could be something else that licensing could be involved with. And that's the update. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dan, for updating. Any questions on that?
No report, Mr. Chairman, then.
No? No? Take a vote on it. Pass it.
Chairman, Councillor Pell has moved for the report to be noted. You can have that seconded, and then I'll ask all members to note the report.
Second vote, Councillor. Right. All noted it? Thank you. Thank you very much, members. Good evening.
Apologies, Chair.
That's okay. It's nice to see you come in when we're nearly finished.
So Chairman, you have concluded the items on the agenda for this evening's business.
We have. So we have finished. Thank you very much. So I will declare this meeting closed at 19:39. Thank you very much.